Las Vegas law firm filed a class action lawsuit against China and Chinese government agencies on behalf of small businesses. The suit claims China engaged in a cover-up of the coronavirus pandemic, and the country contributed to the spread of the virus all over the world. The suit says these actions have caused hundreds of billions of dollars in losses to small businesses.
Missouri has become the first state to sue the Chinese government for allegedly concealing information about the spread of the coronavirus. There are concerns the move could heighten tensions between the U.S. and China. In a press release Tuesday, Missouri Attorney General Eric Schmitt said Chinese officials, quote, lied to the world about the danger and contagious nature of COVID-19, silenced whistleblowers, and did little to stop the spread of the disease. They must be held accountable for their actions. For more on this, let's bring in CBSN contributor Isaac Stone-Fish. He's a senior fellow for the Asia Society Center on U.S.-China Relations. Isaac, good to see you. What do we really know about any efforts by Chinese officials to downplay or suppress information they had about the outbreak of COVID-19?
We know that in mid-January, Chinese officials found out about the coronavirus at least 6 days before they really implemented any sort of measures that would prevent it from spreading. We also know that there was a lot of very early misdirection, domestic propaganda, and a lot of efforts that made it much more difficult for both people in China and people globally to have a sense of what was happening.
Well, the U.S. and China already have a strained relationship. How are Chinese officials likely to react to the allegations in this lawsuit, which essentially blames them for the global pandemic?
I think officially responses from foreign ministry officials will be fairly restrained. I think where we're going to see a lot more vitriol is in Chinese state-run media, especially the Global Times, a nationalistic publication. And I think we're going to see things that Beijing will do, but they'll have plausible deniability while they're doing it. So I think we could certainly see the slowdown of exports of the medical devices from China to the United States, masks, protective equipment, that never really has a clear reason, but people think or people assume, oh, perhaps this is connected to the Missouri situation.
I mean, are there direct consequences we could see then if China were to retaliate in some way?
I think the consequences, one of the ways that makes what Beijing does so effective and so frustrating is often there are not direct consequences. There are indirect consequences that we assume happened because of the state of the relationship, but by keeping outsiders guessing, it's a more effective device to constrain American behavior.
So realistically, Isaac, how likely is it that damages will be awarded to Missouri as a result of this lawsuit?
I think you never want to say zero for something like this. It's incredibly unlikely. It's very unlikely that I'm not a legal expert. I think we can safely assume, though, it's very unlikely that the court will not find in favor of the Missouri government. And if they do, it's incredibly unlikely that they'll be able to get Beijing to pay. So certainly a very savvy PR move by the Missouri Attorney General, and something that we're almost certainly going to see replicated elsewhere. But I would be very surprised if this does translate into remuneration for the people of Missouri.
So we're, of course, in an election here in the U.S., and the pandemic arguably has been politicized by both sides, Republicans and Democrats. How are they framing this concept of blaming China, both Democrats and Republicans?
So I think one thing that neither sides are doing enough, just very quickly, is addressing it to the Chinese Communist Party as opposed to the people of China. We're seeing a really worrying rise in xenophobic attacks in the United States, and I think it'd be very helpful if both parties said, we have problems with the Communist Party, which is the ruling party of China, as opposed to the people of China and the country itself. That said, Republicans are certainly more on the blame China bandwagon, and Democrats are more on the blame Trump bandwagon. And that's kind of how those divides are being split along ideological lines.
All right, we'll be watching this relationship closely here as this pandemic continues to plague both countries, really the globe. So Isaac Stone-Fish, really good to see you. Thank you so much for joining us.